The U.S. officially begins its withdrawal from the World Health Organization, making good on threats to deprive the UN body of its top funding source over its response to the coronavirus. However, COVID-19 cases in the U.S. hit 3 million on Tuesday, still leading the global infection rate. Global commerce frozen by COVID-19 on top of the year-long trade conflict. Japan's exports to South Korea dropped to their lowest in 11 years in May this year, down by almost 20%. We begin with the latest on the nuclear diplomacy happening here in Seoul. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun started his first official schedule in Seoul with a sit-down with Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa this morning. Will his three-day trip in Seoul possibly turn things around? We have our Hong Yu on the line for the details. So Yu, as we speak, Biegun is currently holding talks with the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cho Se-young, following his meeting with the top diplomat. What do we know about the meeting so far?
Well, the meeting between Cho and Biegun likely covered a range of bilateral, regional, and global issues. These are negotiating defense cost sharing to renew the special measures agreement, the invitation from President Trump to participate in the G7 summit, and participation in the Economic Prosperity Network, an initiative the Trump administration is pushing to remove the global industrial supply chain from China. But as the talks are happening at the moment, we do not have the details yet. Before holding talks with the Foreign Affairs Vice Minister Cho Se-young, Stephen Biegun's first official schedule at the Foreign Ministry was to greet the Foreign Affairs Minister Kang Kyung-hwa. Biegun thanked the Korean government for its cooperation in working out the details of COVID-19 preventive measures. Foreign Minister Kang also thanked Biegun for getting tested for COVID-19 when he arrived at the Osan Air Base yesterday afternoon. In just a few minutes, Biegun and Cho Se-young will hold a short press briefing about things they have discussed during their talks. Then Biegun will meet with the Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, Lee Do-hun, to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And that is about all that we know for Biegun's schedule for his second day in Seoul. I'll be back with more details in our later newscast. Back to you, Semin.
Thank you. Our Hong Yu with the developing story on the nuclear talks here in South Korea. Now, North Korea's Kim Jong-un has paid respect to the founder of the North, Kim Il-sung, also his grandfather, visiting the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun ahead of the death of the founder on this Wednesday. The regime's state-run Korea Central News Agency reported this morning that Kim Jong-un was joined with his veteran aides, Choi Ryong-hae, the head of the regime's parliament's presidium, and also the regime's number 3, Park Bong-ju, as well as many others. Now, this day marks the 26th year since the death of the regime's founder, and Kumsusan Palace of the Sun is where the embalmed bodies of the North's previous leader, the founder Kim Il-sung, and his son Kim Jong-il lie in state. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit comes months after he reportedly did not visit on the birthday of the founder Kim Il-sung back in April. Now, it is now official. The Trump administration has taken the unprecedented step of formally pulling the United States out of the World Health Organization. Now, the process will take 12 months to complete, but it leaves the UN agency on the brink of losing its largest financial contributor. Our Kim Sang-min reports.
It was always a matter of when, not if. The Trump administration has gone ahead and formally withdrawn the U.S. from the World Health Organization. Confirming the decision, the U.S. State Department said the administration on Tuesday notified the United Nations, which is a depository for the WHO, of its formal withdrawal. U.S. Senator Bob Menendez also tweeted Tuesday that U.S. Congress received notification from President Trump about the news. This decision was not out of the blue. In May, President Trump expressed his intent to pull the U.S. out of the WHO, blasting the institution as a tool for the Chinese government and in the pocket of Beijing. This was after the U.S. launched an investigation to identify the origin of COVID-19, and President Trump accused China for being responsible for the pandemic. Being the WHO's largest single contributor, the withdrawal of the U.S. could deal a massive financial blow to the organization. In 2019, the U.S. contributed around $400 million, accounting for around 15% of the WHO's total budget last year. However, whether this decision comes to fruition remains to be seen, as it has been criticized by congressional lawmakers, even Republicans. Earlier this month, House Republicans urged President Trump to change his mind, saying the U.S. could do more in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic if it stays within the WHO. Since the U.S. is the world's worst affected country with more than 3 million COVID-19 cases, there's a possibility the move could face barriers during the year-long withdrawal process. Experts say a lot hinges on whether President Trump wins re-election in November and if the idea draws greater support from Congress. Until then, the decision could be reversed. President Trump's opponent in the election, former Vice President Joe Biden, says he will return the U.S. to the WHO if he wins in November. Kim Sung-min, Arirang News.
After months of downplaying the seriousness of COVID-19, Brazil's outspoken president has tested positive for the virus. Now, this comes as the South American nation is seeing tens of thousands of new infections each day. Our Lee Seung-jae with more.
On Monday, Brazil saw over 21,000 COVID-19 infections in the span of just 24 hours. Among them, the country's president, Jair Bolsonaro. Speaking on Brazilian TV on Tuesday, Bolsonaro announced the result of his test, which he took the previous day. He credited the drug hydroxychloroquine for his well-being on Tuesday, saying he's feeling very well and that the effect of the anti-malarial drug was immediate. His infection comes as he has previously downplayed the seriousness of the virus and was often seen in public without a mask before a federal judge ordered him to wear one or be fined. After his positive test, he acknowledged the life-threatening risk posed by the virus. This comes just days after he attended a July 4th commemoration event with the U.S. ambassador to Brazil, Todd Chapman. Photos from the event show Bolsonaro not wearing a mask or observing social distancing guidelines. The U.S. ambassador and his wife have since tested negative for COVID-19, according to a statement issued by the U.S. Embassy in Brazil. Despite his positive test result, Bolsonaro on Tuesday emphasized that his priority is still to kickstart Brazil's flagging economy. Brazil currently has the second most COVID-19 cases in the world at over 1.6 million, only trailing the United States. The country has also seen over 65,000 deaths so far. While the U.S. accounted for 75% of COVID-19 cases in the Americas just 2 months ago, Latin America and the Caribbean now account for half of all cases in the region, with no sign of the spread slowing down soon. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The EU economy is expected to experience a deeper recession this year than previously thought, as the lifting of COVID-19 lockdown measures is proceeding at a slower pace than assumed in its spring forecast. According to the summer 2020 economic forecast released on Tuesday, the EU economy will contract by 8.7% this year and grow by 6.1% next year. Now, the contraction is significantly greater than the 7.4% projected in the previous forecast. And experts cite the far longer period of disruption and lockdown taking place in the second quarter of 2020. The value of Japanese exports to South Korea plunged to an 11-year low in the month of May, hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as Tokyo's export controls against Seoul. According to the Korea International Trade Association on Wednesday, the Japanese shipments to Korea came to just over $3 billion in the month of May, dropping by 18% compared to the same period last year. Exports of raw materials and semiconductors fell by roughly 49% and 30% respectively. The trade association pointed to Korea's low demand due to the pandemic and its boycott of Japanese goods over Tokyo's export restrictions. America's top diplomat has revealed that the Trump administration is considering banning a number of Chinese social media applications, including TikTok, which already has tens of millions of users in the United States. Now, this comes amid heightening tensions between Washington and Beijing over numerous issues, including the origin of COVID-19, trade, and security. Our Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
Washington is looking to ban TikTok, a video sharing application, and other Chinese social media apps. That's according to U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who said in an interview with Fox News that it's something the Trump administration is mulling over, suggesting that TikTok shared information with the Chinese government. Asked whether if he would recommend people download the app, Pompeo said that only if you want your private information in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. American lawmakers have already raised national security concerns over the handling of user data by TikTok, which has nearly 40 million users in the U.S. In a statement Tuesday, a spokesperson for TikTok, owned by Beijing-based tech company ByteDance, explained it never provided user data to the Chinese government, nor would it do so even if asked. The latest remark by Pompeo comes as the application has already been banned by India. Australia is also considering the same action, insisting the app is full of mass surveillance and propaganda. The remarks also come during a time of intensified tension between the two superpowers, which has already spilled over into several areas, including national security, trade, and technology. To this, Beijing's foreign ministry said Washington should not, quote, create barriers and politicize the issue. China's foreign ministry spokesperson said Tuesday that Hong Kong's new national security law has been implemented to enable a more complete and stable societal order, adding that Beijing hopes the international community views the law in a fair, objective, and reasonable manner. Kim Yo-san, Arirang News.
Staying in the U.S., the head of the FBI is warning that the Chinese government could influence the U.S. presidential election based on who they want in the White House. Speaking at an event hosted by the Hudson Institute on Tuesday, Christopher Wray said almost half of the nearly 5,000 active FBI counterintelligence cases are related to China in some way. Wray said Beijing's actions threaten U.S. economic and national security, adding that American people have already been the victims. He stressed that China's malign foreign influence campaign targets America's policies and positions around the clock. And his comments come as the Trump administration ratchets up political and public pressure on China in an election year.
Good morning. Get ready for a scorcher of a day. In fact, parts of Gyeongsang-do province, including Gyeongsan, are still under a heat wave advisory today. So southern provinces will have ratings as high as yesterday, while central regions will see much hotter daytime highs this afternoon. Monsoon rain will take a break on this Wednesday, but we can't rule out sporadic showers for many inland regions during the day, so let's all keep the umbrella handy. When it's dry, we'll be exposed to high levels of UV rays though. In fact, Jindo in Jeollanam-do province will have extreme levels this afternoon, so stay sun safe. UV rays can damage your skin in as little as 15 minutes. And of course, scorching temperatures will not help. Highs will be in the 30s in most parts of the country, and Daegu and Chuncheon will be getting up to 32 degrees Celsius. A monsoonal front moves in from the south coast in Jeju tomorrow and will move across the country. Seoul will see monsoon rain on Friday and next Monday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that is it for us at this hour on Arirang News. But we'll be back with more of the day's headlines in our later newscast slated for noon Korea time, so stay close. Thanks for watching.